There's no lights there anymore.
For those that just came in, please help yourself to the snacks and the drinks that we have, please.
I'm not sure what she did to hold it. Okay. Sorry, phone is blinking. Check. Hello? I can speak loud, but it's probably not helpful for the video. Hello?
I want to welcome everybody. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and spend with us. My name is Elizabeth Brantley, and I'm the Financial Center Manager at University Federal Credit Union. We are the credit union for Galveston College. You'll probably notice that we have the ATM on campus, and we just wanted to come and spend some time with you all today and share some information about personal finance and money management. Geneva Collins is joining me today. She's a personal financial representative, and we both work at the Galveston location. We actually have two locations in this area, one here in Galveston and one up in Lake City, near exit 20, if you know where that is. So before we get started, I have a couple of questions. Just thought I would like to test your knowledge to see if anyone might know the difference between a credit union and a bank. Yes, ma'am.
Credit unions are non-profit and they work for like a certain group of people or like a certain school or organization.
Wow, I am so impressed. Not very many people know that. And what the young lady stated was that credit unions are not for profit and they serve a specific business partner or group of people. So she is absolutely correct. We are a not-for-profit, member-owned cooperative. What that means to you is that we are not owned by shareholders. We're actually owned by our members, and so we're able to pass that savings on to our members by lower interest rates, fewer fees, and things like that. So thank you. Excellent. I've been with University Federal Credit Union for 8.5 years. Geneva's been with the organization for 12 years. So we have a little bit of time in the banking industry. And just something coincidentally, I'm actually helping out at my church with Financial Peace University through the Dave Ramsey program. So that's something else I would encourage you all to take a look into as well. If you're interested in personal finance, Dave Ramsey has some excellent tools and suggestions and things like that. So I have another question for the group. Who here uses a budget? Awesome, we have 3 people. I'm impressed. So if you raise your hand, raise it up again so Geneva can see you. All right. Okay. So we talked a little bit about the credit union difference, the difference between credit unions and banks. This is just a little overview of what we're going to talk about today. Just kind of an overall big picture of personal finance, income, thinking about your career, and things like that. Credit union difference. USCU is actually headquartered out of Austin, and I mentioned we have 2 locations here in the area. Another unique thing about credit unions is that they are governed by a member-elected board of directors. So anybody who has a share in a credit union, regardless of the amount, you have the ability to vote for our board of directors. And we actually have a representative in this area, Dr. David Niesel. He's a physician and a professor over at UTMB. So University Federal Credit Union, we are an education-based credit union. We love to do events like this. One of our biggest goals is to help our members improve their quality, their financial life, and their quality of life through their financial services. We have many things that we can help you with. So in addition to events like this where we come out and speak in groups, you're welcome to come and meet with our representatives like Geneva in person. We can do credit reviews. We can share information on how to build your credit, how to overcome challenges on credit, and personal finance. All right, so thinking about your job that you have now, possibly if you're working, and then looking to the future for the career that you hope to have and plan for one day. Some tips before heading out to apply for your first job, maybe after graduation, or whatever you apply for while you're working in school is very important as well. Go for the job that you want. This is going to be the source of your income, the source of your finances. There's a lot of different things that you can do. Make connections, joining a club, nonprofit organizations that have an opportunity to work with people in your desired field. You would be surprised the impact of networking. So I highly encourage you to get involved. Acquire a new skill, tailor your resume for each application, learn a new language, or receive a certification. Do your research. What kind of company do you want to work for? One big tip that I would give you before you go to an interview is look at the mission and vision of the organization. That's going to be very impressive if you have that information at your interview. And then you also want to make sure the organization that you're applying for aligns with your own values. Is it something that you feel passionate about? And you always want to make sure to dress to impress, create your own brand. And what that means is, how do other people see you? How are you perceived? Right, definitely money is going to be important when considering potential careers, but it's not the only thing. So we're going to talk about the difference between gross and net income. How are you going to be paid? Are you going to be paid monthly, bi-weekly? Is it going to be a salary or hourly position, or will commission be involved? Sometimes, if it is an hourly position, then you have the potential to earn overtime, and then also commission will be another addition to your overall income. There's other ways to research the companies as well. I don't know if you've ever heard of Glassdoor, but that's a very popular site to go in as you're considering potential employers, to go in and look at other people that have worked there, actually go in and put reviews so you get really honest feedback about the organizations. So there's some really important things in addition to the salary that you want to consider when considering a potential employer. Benefits are going to be huge, and they may be the difference between choosing that specific employer or maybe going with another one. The most important ones are the ones that you see there on the left. Of course, your health insurance. We all know, well, I'm not sure if everyone is aware how expensive that can be if you don't have that through your job. If you had to go and get that independently, it can be extremely, almost impossible sometimes to afford. So that's definitely going to be very important, especially if you have a family. You want to make sure that you're able to provide that for your children as well. Retirement plans. I know that you all might think that that is a very long way off, and you're correct, it is. But actually, the best thing that you have on your side at this moment in time is going to be time. The amount of time before you retire. If you would be amazed at the benefit you will do for yourself by saving just a little bit as early as possible. There is a comparison that I could share with you. Yes, sir?
What about Roth IRA?
So that's going to be one vehicle for saving for retirement. Actually, your best tool is going to be your company's 401k. If the place that you're going to be working at or potentially working at offers 401ks, there was actually a large research study done, and 401ks are the #1 tool that people have been able to use to build wealth. So, and the reason for that is that's not the type of account that you can just go to a financial institution and open. It has to be something that's offered through your employer. And the other nice thing about that is most employers, everybody's a little bit different, but most employers, whatever you contribute to that 401k, they match you up to a certain percent. So that's basically free money that they give you to incent you to contribute into the 401k. And then you're going to earn a much higher interest rate in that type of account than you would just opening a regular bank account or a regular IRA at a financial institution.
What about versus like at GPD they have like a retirement plan, but like they get paid out more through a salary than they do retirement. Like whenever they retire, they have like kind of a bad retirement, and then on their 401k. Versus the Galveston County Sheriff's Office, they have it to where you get a great, you get a low paid salary, but you get great retirement. So like, what if you're trying to match?
It's a little tough for me to say because I don't know the specifics. I have heard what you're talking about, and I'm not sure if they're on a pension or if they are a 401k. So there's different types of plans that you can have. Some places still offer a pension. That would be like teacher retirement system or different things like that, but that's fewer and far between these days. Most of the time people do 401ks. One of the things that we offer at the credit union is we have a gentleman who specializes in retirement, and he can help you, kind of with tax considerations, just be a good resource with membership at the credit union where you can just come in and meet with him one-on-one, and he can break a lot of those specific things down for you and answer questions that way. So, good question. So some more things to consider as far as benefits. I'm not being very technologically savvy right now. So other things to consider: travel and expected hours on the road. So when you're considering a new job, what kind of a commute is that going to be for you? Your work-life balance. So those are all things that you want to take into consideration. How many hours a day are you going to be on the road? How does that, factor into your budget as far as fuel and things like that. So, pretty important things to think about. So this is an example of paid time off. This is an example of two different offers on positions where in one you're given, let's see. So one looks like a higher salary than the other. However, your benefits add up to actually be more with the salary at $47,000 a year. That's why it's really important to consider those things when you're looking at long-term future careers. So the cost of insurance, going back to health insurance, I can't share with you enough how crucial that is going to be for your future, for yourself, for your family. So if your job offers it, if it's optional, I mean, it would just have to be a no-brainer. Of course, you want to sign up for that. Any benefits that the companies offer, take advantage of it. Most of the time you'll have some sort of life insurance benefit, health insurance, short-term disability. So those different things you definitely want to utilize and take advantage of those, because you wouldn't be, it's just kind of like the 401k, you wouldn't be able to go out independently on your own and get those things for that price. They would be way more expensive. So that's just an example of $50 out of your paycheck to sign up for health care versus one trip to the emergency room, and you can see that's about $1,300 at the bottom there. We definitely want to plan for the emergencies, because it's not if, it's when they're going to happen. So kind of looking over your paycheck, when you're taking a look at your pay stub, just some different things here for you to be able to understand all of the different breakdowns and calculations when you're looking at your pay stub. So you've got gross pay, you've got mandatory deductions, so that's going to be your federal tax, your Social Security, Medicare, state income tax. Thank goodness we live in Texas and we don't have that. And then you've got voluntary deductions. So those are all the additional things that I was mentioning that you could sign up for, the short-term disability, the life insurance. I was actually at a new employee orientation for you, T&B, yesterday, and they were sharing the fact that people between the ages of 35 and 70, it shows that at least half of those people will be incapacitated at some point. So what that means is you're going to have a surgery, or God forbid you may be in an accident or something like that. That's why you want to plan and take advantage of the benefits that the companies offer.
These are things that you take into account when you go on an interview.
Yes, definitely. And when you're researching and things like that for the companies that you're considering applying at.
How many of you have had your first job yet?
Awesome. So the next slide is talking about the net impact. So of course, gross is going to be the amount before any of the deductions, mandatory and voluntary, are taken out. And then net is going to be the amount that you actually take home. So if you look at this example, I think if you click it one more time, the difference is about $1,500 a month. So these are all things that you want to be thinking about when you're putting your budget together. And another really important thing to think about with your budget is you never want to rely on income that may not be guaranteed, like overtime or bonuses or things like that. You don't want to factor that stuff into your budget, because if you're dependent upon that and then all of a sudden your company cuts back on hours, then you're going to be in a hardship. Okay, so this is my favorite part of the presentation, talking about budgets. A lot of people don't like to talk about budgets, or it just sounds really boring. It sounds like it's restrictive, and it's something that's telling you no, or that you're not going to be able to spend your money the way that you want to. Actually, a budget gives you permission to spend. So if you take a look at your income and you tell your money where to go before you actually spend it, then you won't be wondering where your money went. So it's recommended before you spend any of your paycheck, take a look at what your monthly income is going to be, then take a look at your expected expenses, and plan for every single dollar that you plan on earning. So you want to record your purchases, keep receipts for a couple of months, because budgets are not something that you make one time and stick to it. A budget is something that you're going to want to do every single month. You're going to want to look at it every single month, and it's going to take you, once you have consistent income, it's going to take you a good 3 to 4 months to really kind of get a handle on your budget. If you are a couple, you definitely want to have both people involved in the budget. I would recommend holding budget meetings. There's probably going to be one person who really likes to do the budget, and then there's probably going to be one person who's maybe more of a free spirit, and they're not so much interested in it. But it's highly recommended that both people are involved, and the person that may be the free spirit, even if they let the other person make the budget, if they can change one thing and have some sort of involvement in it, it's proven to be very helpful. If you're not married, if you're single, have an accountability partner. Get somebody that you trust, whether it be a friend, a parent, somebody like that, to be able to help you hold yourself accountable.
What about an accountant? Like, if you make enough money to do so?
Well, what I mean by accountability partner would really be somebody that would kind of help motivate you, or might say, hey, do you really need that, 10th trip to Starbucks this month, or something like that. So, but yes, an accountant is going to be able to help you minimize taxes and kind of help you with that sort of thing. There's a lot of great budgeting apps out there that can make it, easier and faster. One that I would recommend for you, it's not affiliated with UFCU, but it's called Every Dollar. That's actually Dave Ramsey's app. And then if you're a member at University Federal Credit Union, built into our online banking, we have a money management system. So every transaction that you do, it'll put it into a category for you and help you track your expenses. All right, next slide. Wants versus needs. So a need is something, obviously, that we have to have, essential for survival. A want is something that we really have to have, I really think we have to have, right?
Yeah. Like I really have to have my Starbucks.
Right. Impulse buying can be a real challenge for some people, myself included. That's why it's really nice to be able to have that budget, have that plan, because you can budget your Starbucks in. You can give yourself that amount of money, and then you know it's okay. But if you don't, then you're potentially spending money that might have a shortfall later on in your month. So if you're getting used to a budget for the first time, I highly recommend that you use cash. Maybe pay all of your bills through your account, and then whatever else that you plan on spending throughout the month, whether it be groceries or gas or your miscellaneous money that you have throughout the month, it's been proven that people are less likely to overspend if they're using cash. There's something psychological involved there. When you use a card, especially a credit card, you swipe the card, you get the card back, and you get your stuff. But when you're actually paying with cash, you're having to give them something to get something in return. And it's proven that it reduces impulse buying and overspending. So I would recommend that. There's nothing wrong with wanting new things, but pretending your needs is stopping you from saving for them versus using money you need for, your needs. When I online shop, I leave items in my cart for a day and I sleep on it. And if I still want them the next day, then I'll get them. But 90% of the time I end up putting things back, or if not everything back, at least one or two things. So if you learn to do a budget and be patient, then you'll be able to support all of your needs and plenty of your wants, and you'll set yourself up for a balanced life and a happy, more prosperous year. 75% of people in America live paycheck to paycheck. So being paycheck to paycheck, having a lot of debt, that's pretty much normal. So I would highly encourage you to form good habits now and don't fall into that normal. All right, so taking control of your finances, savings, and debt. The first thing that you want to do when you're looking at your income and your finances and your budget, you want to plan for that emergency, because like we said before, it's not if, it's when. So a very good rule of thumb is to save a $1,000 emergency fund. That might sound like a lot of money for you now. At this stage, you may save $500, but at least have something in savings, because you never know what can happen. You're going to have a flat tire. I mean, there's any amount of things. Murphy's Law always happens, and it's definitely something that you want to plan for. If you plan for it, you know, it's just one of those things, and you're able to recover from it and move on. But if you don't plan for it, then it can really put you in a crisis or cause you to go into debt. So recommend that. If you have debts, or if you have student loans that you know that you're going to be paying off right after graduation, I highly recommend that you start paying on those right away. There's different ways that you can go about doing that. If you don't have to look through it now, but there is a handout that was on all of the tables, and it gives you resources on paying student loan debt. Some of the things that you want to consider with that is, depending upon your interest rate that you have on the loan right now, a lot of people want to do a debt consolidation where they want to roll all of those balances into one big balance and pay off that balance that way. But sometimes you may be forfeiting a lower interest rate, and you might end up paying more back by doing it that way. So you really want to be careful that you're not rolling over, you're not just trying to consolidate everything and you're actually going into higher interest rates just to do that. If it ends up being that the current rates that you have on your loans is lower, then what you can do is something called a debt snowball. And that's where you pay the smallest one. You just take everything you can and pay as much over the minimum of the smallest one, and then if you have others, you just pay the minimums on those. Then when you get that smallest one paid off, then you take all of the money that you were paying on that one and you put it to the next one. And then you just keep repeating that process until you get those paid off. So, thinking about retirement as well, the goal should be about 15% of your income set aside for retirement. So, and I say goal because that might sound like a lot when you start signing up for your 401k and your voluntary elections and things like that for retirement. But 15% is a really good number. And like I said, you have time on your side, so compound interest is going to be on your side. Slide. Right, so we're talking about stress points. So money can be very stressful. If you don't have control of your money, if you have outstanding things that are bothering you, money can really be a big source of stress. But again, as I said, if you're able to plan and you're able to tell your money what to do, plan where your money's going to go, then that's going to reduce a lot of that stress for you, and especially if you're starting out with a clean slate, but it's never too late. So identify your stress points. Whether it's the realization that you need to get more serious about saving for graduation, or you're dealing with a troublesome credit card balance, it's important to recognize what's causing your anxiety. Write down your 3 biggest financial sources of stress. to know what you're up against. Give it a positive spin. Your mindset can help keep you motivated to fix your financial problems. Rather than getting bogged down by thoughts of never getting out of debt, imagine the amount of stress you feel decreasing as your debt load gets smaller and smaller. It's important to believe you can do it. And that's another thing about the debt snowball, is you get to celebrate those victories along the way. So if you pay off one debt, it's really exciting to have one thing knocked out, and then you move on to the next one. Be realistic. Determine what you can reasonably achieve, and then dedicate yourself to following through each and every month. Make sure you make yourself a promise. Each month I will spend less and put the difference toward my debt or savings. Just like a crash diet or intense new workout routine, pushing too hard can lead to burnout. You don't diet or exercise. You don't want to overly be ambitious with financial goals that you may abandon in a few weeks or months. Make the most of your income. The belief that you simply don't have enough money to put towards your goals can keep you from dealing with your financial problems. Try to focus on making the most of your income you do have by spending wisely, and look at other sources of income. So a lot of people think that in order to become wealthy that they have to inherit money or that they have to make a lot of money. Those are all myths. Many people that earn a lower income have ended up being very wealthy or been able to build a lot of wealth, and it's just all in the way that we are disciplined and the way that we manage our money. So those definitely don't buy into those things, because you have the potential to build wealth regardless of your situation. Small steps are key. You may not be able to cut any one expense by $100, but you may be able to identify 5 monthly expenditures you could reduce by $25. Forgive yourself if you skip up. Examine your spending patterns to see why you overspent and modify your budget for your behavior. Keep yourself honest. Leaning on your relationship can help keep you on track. Every hard task becomes easier with the support of friends and family. So share your goals. There's no one better to hold you accountable and remind you about your sacrifice than those you love, trust, and respect. So if you look at the handouts that are on the table, there's a couple of resources there for you. There's one about, it's understanding your credit. So this one is really important because credit information and how credit works is not a knowledge that a lot of people have. It's not that it's really a secret, it's just not something that's very explained. So that handout that looks like this, the circles, it's going to be really useful because it explains to you exactly how credit works. Does anyone know why it might be important to be concerned about your credit score? Yes, sir.
The higher your score, the more opportunities, the doors you have open. Your interest rates are much, much lower.
Exactly.
Especially when it comes to trying to buy a home or a basic purchase.
When you say the higher your credit score, the more doors are open, what do you mean by that?
Well,
if we may ask.
If you try to apply for a home loan, if you got a low score, chances are you can get that from a bank, that's for sure.
Like all those answers?
Absolutely. Good answers.
And what was
Yeah,
your
I was about to say the same thing. Yeah, I mean, like the higher your credit score, the more like you can apply for more credit cards. Like certain companies you get low interest rates on a car if you're buying a car, which is really important and whatnot. And so it's just making sure you're making payments on time and whatnot. That builds the score up to what it needs to be. Like I started off from like 580 to like now I'm 670 because
Awesome.
it's good spending and whatnot. Making sure that you go with it.
That's really good. Yes, those are all excellent answers. The higher your credit score, interest rates are based on credit score. So the higher your credit score, the lower your interest rate's going to be. So do you want to pay $300 a month for a car payment, or do you want to pay $450 and that $150 goes to interest and not to repay the loan? So that would be the difference. That would be one thing to consider. the larger the balance on the loan, the more of an impact that's going to be. So when you're thinking of a home loan, you think of the balance on an auto loan versus how much the balance would be on a home loan, and then compound that interest, it's definitely going to be a big savings. And then of course it impacts your ability for approvals. But there's other things that credit score does as well. Yes, sir.
There's another thing that most people don't look at is the gap between how much spending you do compared to how much like your spending power. If you have like too much credit, that could also be a thing.
That's right, yes. You don't want to have so much out there that you're overextended. So the other thing that you can do that credit impacts is, how about your apartment lease? Did you know they look at your credit for that? Your cell phone, your car insurance. It determines a lot of things that impact how much you're going to pay for those services, and then also if you have to put deposits and things like that. So there's 5 buckets that make up your credit score. The first bucket is going to be payment history, and that's the biggest one. And that means whatever you get, do your very best never to miss a payment. And by miss a payment, I mean 30 days past the due date. So if you have a $10 payment and you accidentally forget to make that $10 minimum payment, that's going to impact your credit score for 2 years. So that's why it's super important to make sure that you're making those payments on time. The other thing that is one of the bigger things for the credit score is your capacity. So credit cards are a good tool to build your credit, but we would never ever encourage you to keep balances on those. It's okay to have one, just to keep it open, because 30% of your credit score is based on having a credit card. How much your limit is, like say I have a $1,000 limit on a Visa versus how much my balance is. So if my Visa limit is $1,000 and my balance is 0, I have 100% of my capacity available on that card, and that's going to help my credit score. If my balance is $900, then I'm almost maxed out. So that's going to actually lower my credit score. That's going to be one of the only ways that you can really change your credit score in a short amount of time, is by paying off revolving loans like that. So you have car loans, is you get a specific amount of money, you repay that money, and then the loan is closed and you have to reapply if you want anything else. Revolving is like a credit card, so you get a limit on a credit card, and then if you spend the limit and you repay the limit, then it becomes available again and it stays open like that. So it's a good idea to have a mix of those for your FICO score, but again, credit cards are a tool for building credit. You can use them in an emergency, or some people prefer to rent a car or a hotel with those, but we definitely don't encourage you to keep balances and be overextended with credit cards. So the handout's also going to talk to you about not letting people pull your credit. So how many of you have gone to a department store and they tell you, oh, if you get a Kohl's card today, you're going to get 40% off your purchase? How many of you have heard that? I think they tell
This time of the year.
yes, definitely. And I'm not going to lie, a couple of them have got me, but I don't recommend, every time that you do that, that's a hard inquiry on your credit report. So you never know how much you're actually costing yourself by letting those places run your credit. And then the credit card that they give you is only going to be available to use at that particular store and nowhere else, and it's going to have a really high interest rate. So we always advise that you get one major credit card, Visa, MasterCard. It's good to get that at your financial institution, because usually you're going to get a fixed interest rate. You have that card that can be used anywhere Visa or MasterCard are accepted. So another handout that you're going to see on the table is the little small one that says Achieve Balance. That is something that UFCU, our credit union, pays for, and it is a free resource to be able to go there to look at. It's just a wealth of resources for financial information. So there's budgets, different budgets that you can use there for yourself, just different tips on spending. There's articles on how to get ready and how to be approved for a home loan. So just quite a few things that are available to you. And then if you're a UFCU member and you have really specific questions, or you want money management counseling or credit counseling, you can actually set up a free hour phone appointment with one of their credit counselors, and they can help, the experts can help with those items as well. What questions do you all have with the information that we've talked about this afternoon? Yes, sir.
So is it true, I haven't really looked at this myself in depth, that having too many inquiries to put a negative thing on the report?
It does, yes, sir. I don't know that this is an official rule, but a good just rule of thumb that I've always stuck with is I wouldn't try to have any more than maybe 2 a year. The credit bureaus use algorithms and all kinds of things to determine the credit score, so I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly how much it would impact your score, but it does, if you have excessive amounts of pulls on your credit, it will impact. They track 2 years, so it's just a running 24 months constantly on your credit report of how many times your credit's been pulled. So you definitely want to be cautious of who you let do that. Because it appears to the credit bureaus that you're out shopping excessively for credit, and that's why it can lower your score.
The reason I asked is when I was buying my car and I was shopping around at the different dealerships, I mean, they're pulling it like 4 or 5 times.
Yes, yes. So now there are some little caveats with it, though. You're absolutely right. We always recommend as a financial institution, if you know that you're going to be shopping for a vehicle, most of the time you can get pre-approvals. With UFCU, if you were interested in getting financing on a vehicle, you could come in and get pre-approved, and then your pre-approval would be good for 60 days. So you could go out, you'd only have your credit ran once, you could go out within that 60 days, you already know what your interest rate is, you already know where you stand, and you have the opportunity to go out and find the vehicle that you want. I will share with you that if you go to the dealership and you apply there, they have a whole list of people that they work with, and they also have the ability to mark up the interest rate. So say that the interest rate is, the bank is offering a certain amount, they have a spread that they can actually go up on that interest rate where you wouldn't have that challenge if you were pre-approved with your financial institution. But also, however many times you have your credit ran, if the credit bureaus can see that it's an auto lender, they only count it as one if it's, I think, within like a 2-week period. So it only counts as one usually. And there's little benefits like that with mortgage as well. So, what other questions do y'all have?
What about loans? Impacting your credit score? Paying them off actually help increase your.
It's a good question. So, a lot of people think that if I get a loan and I pay it off in a month, that makes me look awesome because I paid it off and I can just show that I only needed it for a little amount of time and then I paid it off. Well, actually, that's harmful to your credit, and the reason being is the credit bureaus are grading your payment history, your ability to make on-time payments, and they want to see a consistent pattern of on-time payments to be able to grade you for your credit score. So if you get a loan and you pay it off in a month or 2, that's actually considered a short-term loan, and it can be harmful to your credit. We always advise 12 months is ideal, but if you can get to at least 6 or 8 payments before you pay it off, that's going to be the best impact for your credit score. And then the other thing with the credit cards, just keep those balances low as possible. It's okay to have a 0 balance. It still helps your credit. The only thing you would want to watch is to make sure that if you go so long without using your credit card, sometimes they'll close them for inactivity. So you just want to make sure you keep them active.
20% is the best amount. If you have a limit, you want to at least make sure you're spending. If you have 1,000, you have to make sure you're spending 200.
15 to 20% is a good rule of thumb to not carry balances more than that percentage, but you know, a credit score is a snapshot in time. So if you go and you buy a laptop and you spend $1,200 on your credit card, no, if you're not buying anything else and you're not, you know, trying to get ready for a big purchase like a car or a home, no one's looking at your credit. So then once you get it paid off, your score is going to come back up. So you just kind of have to look at it that way. And, you know, timing also plays a factor into that as well.
What about student loans? I'm sorry.
That's okay. Student loans, so they're on the tables. I put some resources there for everybody on repaying student loans. Student loans are installments. So some things that you want to consider is that you're going to have to start making payments on those, usually 6 months after graduation. You want to think about, like we said before, if you're going to consolidate those or roll those into another repayment plan, you want to make sure that you're considering all the terms and conditions and that you're not actually putting yourself into a higher interest rate. So, what other, did you have a specific question about student loans?
No,
or
I
just?
mean like, does not paying them off directly affect your credit score and whatnot?
Yes. So that's we see a lot of that in what we do. You know, people get ready for that home loan, or they, you know, they're at that next stage in life and they're ready to start working towards that next goal. A lot of times student loans hold people back. And those are usually, the laws changed several years back, and so those are government loans. So they're actually backed by the government. So guess who never forgets that you owe them money?
Not even if you go bankrupt, they'll still be on there.
Yeah, and eventually they can garnish your wages. So, you know, you just definitely want to make sure that you're taking care of those. And, you know, as students, I can't encourage you enough to research different grants, research different scholarships. There's all kinds of local scholarships that you could be maybe looking into. You know, sometimes people think, oh, it's just $500, it's a drop in the bucket. If I can make $500 by filling out an application, sign me up, right? A story was shared with me recently where through the Financial Peace, the Dave Ramsey program, where a young lady, her mother, when she was a junior in high school, her mother encouraged her to, she had to apply for 2 scholarships every day, Monday through Friday, while she was a junior and a senior. And she fought with her mom, and she hated it, and she did it because she didn't want to get grounded, but, you know, it was this big battle, but she did it. And then after she graduated, she was actually able to graduate debt-free with $4,000 in the bank because she was able to apply and get approved for a lot of little different things along the way. So it adds up. Definitely adds up. What other questions do y'all have? Yes, sir.
Is it acceptable or is it impossible to like pay credit with credit? Is that like a thing or no?
What was that again?
So like pay like say you get like a credit card with Kohl's and you pay that off with like your say Hamilco credit card. Is that like a thing?
Not Amco,
So I guess you could.
balance transfer.
Okay, yes. Well, there's two things I'm thinking of. You can sometimes people will go, like say they'll have maybe 2 or 3 credit cards with higher interest rates. Then they'll go and they'll get a fixed interest rate credit card, and they'll do what Geneva said, a balance transfer. That's where you roll the balances of those higher rate cards onto the lower interest rate card. It's almost like a debt consolidation. So that is a possibility. So yes. Now the other thing where I was kind of thinking is, like, you can, some people, I mean, it's not good practice, but you can get cash advances off of credit cards too, to be able to use that cash for, you know, whatever you want, but you'll be usually paying an extra fee for a cash advance fee. So, all right, I have an ask of all of you. If you will take out your phones and go to this website on your browser. There's a little survey about how I did this evening, and I would really appreciate it if all of you would mind doing that for me. It'll just take a minute or two, and then if you don't mind doing that, I will give you a pop socket for your phone. Give everybody a minute. Geneva and I are going to have our business cards so that you can email or call us if you have any questions. Geneva is our expert with accounts and loans. She would be able to talk to you over the phone, email with you, or meet with you in person if you have more specific questions. And then I encourage you to take a look at our website. It's super easy to remember, ufcu.org. We have a lot of things on our website that might be helpful for you. Like we have calculators that can help you calculate savings interest, calculate loan interest, and just a lot of different financial, educational type things on our website that you can look at and utilize even if you're not a member.